Rock stars, this is one of the most important episodes I've ever made. So right out of the gate, please listen to this episode all the way through. And I'm asking you to share it, not because I want you to promote the show, but because this episode is one of the quintessential episodes on love, light, and leadership that I have ever had the privilege of having. My guest is Eric Boles. He was the PPS keynote speaker this last year. He played in the NFL. He has evolved and grown into this leader of leaders. He has a company called the Game Changers, Inc., where he does everything from high-level executive coaching and consulting down to keynote speaking. And what I love about Eric is that he is one of those few go-givers who just pours his heart and soul. This will be an entertaining episode. You'll just glow through the hour like it's nothing. But here's at the end of the day, you're going to leave feeling happier, more empowered, and you're going to give this to your leaders to listen to, because this confronts the greatest problem and pain that we face in leadership, which is how do we hold people accountable and grow them and change the world? I kid you not. I'm not exaggerating in this introduction. Listen to it all the way through, share, and enjoy this show. I know I did. Eric, I'm so excited to talk to you about so many things today. One of the things that I've always wanted to ask you is how your experience in the NFL and then helping people in the NFL, because you weren't just a professional athlete and well rewarded. You've helped other people coach and develop themselves in the NFL. How did that experience prepare you for executive coaching? Like, how has that leadership experience helped you build leaders in other domains like business?
Oh, great question, Will. I will tell you my NFL experience, I don't have the kind of story where I left the league being carried off on shoulders after winning a Super Bowl and I'm getting celebrated. My experience in the league was a great experience for me, but pretty painful in terms of if I had to define it as disappointing. So I was only in the league in a few years. But I got released, so I got cut. So, I always like to say that I had an NFL draft party when I got drafted. And then my getting cut party, there was a lot fewer people at it.
Yeah.
So anyhow, but what the NFL did for me, I learned a ton in multiple ways. One is I played for a couple good teams, and I played for a pretty bad team. Right. But in terms of the good team, my time in Green Bay was invaluable. And the reason it was I got a chance to not only see how players play on the field, I got a chance to watch an organization that was ran in a pretty amazing way.
Wow.
And that was probably the experience that had the most significant impact on me in terms of that transferred from that experience to the work I do today. Right. And I can't say it wasn't intentional. I wasn't 24 years old, sitting there going, let me study, the structure of how this organization is being ran. Right. That wasn't going on. But due to being hurt and who our coaching staff was, from Mike Holmgren was our head coach. Andy Reid was our tight end coach. Jon Gruden was our wide receiver coach. Those who know football know I'm mentioning some great coaches right now. Steve Mariucci was our quarterback coach. Some of our assistants that were on the squad, the players from Brett Favre to Reggie White, all these great players, all that talent. But I was more amazed by Ron Wolf, who was the general manager. He ran that. It was such a well-structured organization. How they took care of business. The organization of Mike Holmgren is an organizer. He's a teacher as well. So I got a chance to, many people say, you had a great football coach. Yes, football coach was the title. Teacher was who he was. So he taught. And so that experience for me was priceless. It was only later that I discovered how much that prepared me for what I was going to do next, but it was really an invaluable experience.
It's interesting to think that in the NFL, because I'm guessing every organization at that level has leadership, well, to some degree dialed in. And even within those realms, okay, that's actually useful, because it sounds like even at that level, which is true for business too, right, Eric? Like you get businesses that are achieving some great things. And then when you get into it, you're like, how are they achieving this?
Yeah.
So what were some of those key things from the Green Bay Packers that you were like, man, because you said they were great organizers. I got the sense they structured things cleanly and clearly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was almost like this emotional connection I heard from you. What was it about you that affected you personally
Well,
that was like, wow, this is leadership?
well, one of the things that had a tremendous impact on me was it was the first time I learned what second, third, fourth level consequence even meant. So follow this here. Most of my career, I got into football late. After college, I went to a really small school. When I was drafted, I got drafted in the 11th round, right? They don't have 12 rounds in the NFL anymore, right? Right? So I mean, my experience coming up, I was a wide receiver. You know, wide receivers can be known as pretty selfish, right?
Yeah.
But we just worry about getting the ball. We're not worried about anything else. But my time there in Green Bay was fascinating. I still remember one specific play where I ran a route. I didn't get the ball, and I kind of jogged back, right? I didn't really run full speed. And I never forget being called to the head coach, to Mike Holmgren. And he just said, come here right now. And I got right to him. And he looked me in the face, and he said, run full speed every time. And I didn't really understand it because it was like a route that it was, I was like, just kind of get out of the way. Like I'm probably not getting the ball. But when we got in the film room, it was the first time I really understood. And now keep in mind, I'm in the NFL. So you would think I would know this already, right? But my talent got me in the NFL, not my football IQ. So what ended up happening is by watching film, he helped me understand, and the way they broke it down is what happens when I don't go full speed and how it negatively impacts every other position or every other route that was being ran and how it led to this and how it led to that. So for me, understanding how everything connects was a great precursor for me, a great, an education for me. So then when I would get into organizations, I discovered that in a lot of organizations, it's not a problem of motivation. It's a problem of lack of awareness. Some people just don't know how important their role is. If they do it right, how it impacts everything else. That's never talked about. So people get so caught up in just what their assignment is that they don't understand there's a second, third, fourth level consequence. Those were some of the ahas that I would only value because of football. And I had to have the experience of doing it wrong, coached on it, called out on it, to understand how significant it is. And so it's those kind of things that I'm so grateful for the experience, because we spent far more time in the film room and in the classroom than we even did on the field. So learning the game and the nuance of the game were big. I made it to the NFL because I'm 6'3.5", 225 pound wide receiver back in the day. Like there wasn't a lot of those. So my talent got me there. But unfortunately, once I got there, I realized just how much I didn't understand, not about football, but around how teams work, structures work, process works, habits work. A lot of that was learned, especially in my time in Green Bay.
Gosh, man, rock stars, listen to what Eric said. As Eric was talking, I was thinking rock stars about private practice clinics. And owners don't even know, Eric, that over a third of rejections from insurance companies when we go to get our money for the work that's done happen because of small, easy errors at the front desk intake form. And the front desk people that we hire, usually, private practice owners are usually in the space of like, I'm just going to hire someone with a good personality, and they don't understand the importance, like you said, of being off-field training on the why it matters and how it creates second and even like third level consequences because of these elements. And man, the loss of money, the loss of, again, it's not about the money, but without the money, we can't serve the purpose. And so if we can't have that element, so rock stars, as you're hearing this, what are those positions on the field of your team that you maybe could do a better job of connecting the why and how it connects to all these other processes? And if you don't know, go learn, right? Like as you learned, Eric, like when that coach sat you down, it was like, hey, run full speed every time. And then he teaches everyone why. It opened your understanding and expansion. I'm sure you felt like you had been poured into by that coach versus just like made wrong for not doing something.
Now, when he called me out in front of everybody, I'm going to be honest with you, I was like, I would have preferred, a one-on-one versus in front of everybody.
I didn't know that part of it. So you were in front of everybody. He was like,
Oh, no.
Eric.
Yeah, get over here right now. Okay, so, but don't get me wrong. At the age I was, that's probably the only way you could have got through.
But in a professional environment, it's better to pull someone inside and go.
It is, but
Yeah.
what the reason why most people, the majority of people, aren't doing things wrong intentionally, right? Like a lot of times it's just a lack of an awareness. And for so many leaders, and especially for your rock stars, so many of them, their love taking care of their patients, taking care of those who they're helping, all those things, that matters a lot. Structure, alignment, people being on the same page. We have a tendency to take that for granted. And so I tell a lot of leaders, what you picture in your mind and when you give an instruction to one of your members of your team, don't make the assumption that the picture you're describing is the picture they're seeing. Many times the pictures don't match. And so the importance of these little things, they may be unaware because you really didn't emphasize. I had one leader tell me, it was like, well, at my front desk, we have an urgency for that. I said, yeah, but you have this urgency and everybody's doing all this work. Yet the very person the person who has to submit it is sat on their desk for a whole day before they submitted it. So you were like, what were they doing? They were unaware of how urgent that thing is. That is a communication problem. That's not an attitude problem. You believe they have an attitude problem. No, you guys are just unaligned. And you have to take the time to know this matters. If we're aligned properly, it frees rock stars to do what they do best. If they lack alignment, you end up spending that time you would be taking care of what you really enjoy and what really has the most impact on the client, now fixing stuff that shouldn't have required your attention in the first place. It should have been something you aligned around early. This is why we huddle up in football. This is why we have training camp. This is why people think training camp and huddles are for the purpose of just calling a play. No, huddles are for the purpose of seeing the same picture, to make sure everybody's pictures match. We only execute because of alignment. We're not executing because of talent. The assumption is everybody has talent. You wouldn't be in the league if we didn't have talent. How do you organize that talent? You organize it with alignment.
Amazing. That word alignment, how so much about it is the vision, like you said, that's in my head is different than the vision in their head. I remember as an early business owner getting so frustrated with my front desk. And I wasn't hiring well to begin with. Like I wasn't, this wasn't an NFL hiring perspective. I used to hire based on the fogged mirror rule. If they fogged a mirror, I would. So that was part of my problem. But Eric, it was all me. Because at the end of the day, I would sit there and tell people like, hey, do this, and then walk away and then get personally offended when they didn't execute.
I'm only laughing, Will, because I know about the mirror test, man, and but it's also there's so many principles we know, but it still keeps going down to what Stephen Covey wrote about years ago in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is beginning with the end in mind. And I remember one of the stories he talks about is where he's walking his son around the yard, and he says, "Son, I need you to cut the yard." And he goes, "Great, okay, I got it, Dad." He goes, "No, son. This is what green and clean looks like. I want it green and I want it clean." And he said, and so he walked around and he said, "Son, what does it look like right now? Green and clean." He said, "Son, that's green and clean. If it doesn't look like this, it's not green and clean. So you don't have to ask me. You don't have to wonder. You don't have to guess. You just got a chance to see what better looks like. This is what it looks like." And I remind, we all guilty of like,
oh yeah.
Even though I teach about it, train it, but it blows my mind how often, and it's not only miscommunicating, it's just not clear communication. How often I am off with my team and I'm like, thank you for right. That's why the goal is to create a communication channel where we're constantly aligning our pictures. So with my team, I was like, this is what I want done. And this is why I want it done. And so tell me what when I say this, tell me what you heard. Tell me what you see. I want to know what they picture. I don't know. I don't want to just know what they heard, because if our pictures don't match, they'll go off, do the work, I'm not happy with the work because it's not the picture I have in mind. But then they're upset because I don't value the effort they just spent doing the work. So
Yes.
now you have people who wasted their energy on stuff that doesn't bring a return. I'm not happy with the outcome. And now we have to come together. So I don't want to reward just effort when it's not what I wanted. But also, it's important for them not to waste their effort on a bad picture. So I work really hard with my team, but I encourage leaders all around is to challenge your people also to make sure they can tell you back what it is they picture, but also when they don't have clarity, that they ask for it. That they don't just take it for granted. Just because my boss said it, this is what I see. Not to go too long on this, Will, but the reason why I love professional sports so much, or especially professional football, because it's watched more than any other sport in the country, right? People always watch. But I say this often, this is not about football, but it is about how leadership and management and organization works. Follow this here. The way that leadership or information flows back and forth in a game is different than what most people think. They assume the coach calls the play and the players go do it. That is not what's happening. The exchange of information going back and forth is so fluid. You have quarterbacks, you have head coaches asking quarterback, tell me what you see. You have offensive coordinators asking quarterbacks asking the receiver telling the quarterback. Everybody is communicating. Why? Because it's the information. We're going to work hard anyways, but can we work hard with the right information? So if you're going to work hard, you want to work hard on the right stuff. To work hard on the wrong information, now we just got confusion. And so we're not losing because of the lack of talent. We're losing because of the lack of organization. And it's hard to be effective and confused at the same time. So it's so important when we gather, are we on the same page? And it doesn't take long. You know, a huddle takes about 10 seconds, right? A early morning meeting before your day starts. Get on the same page. Just take 5 minutes before the day starts. Come in 5 minutes early. Get with your team. Hey, guys, this is what a good day looks like for us today. Let's go make it happen. Let's make sure we do it. There you go. That's way easier than going a month looking at your numbers, realizing your numbers ain't right, then trying to backtrack and understand why is that, and then going through this. No, start ahead of time. Like this, I like to call it pre-success versus post-mortem, right? Like, can we set this up ahead of time to be successful? What are the few things we know matter most? And can we make sure they stay on the minds of our folks even before the day starts? And the better you get at that, it doesn't make it perfect, but it makes it a lot more productive.
Yes, and that's where you get teams, I think, who are in the trenches together, who learn to trust each other, because as they learn to feel valued, I think the biggest indication, not even talking to my audience about me, even still, Eric, is that when I start feeling like frustrated with somebody, it's usually a greater indication that I haven't set that pre-success in motion and I haven't like previewed it well enough. And sometimes it's because I don't know as an owner or a leader. And so it's easier. It's almost more like, I think, human to look at the other person and go, well, I hired them for this role. Why aren't they executing? Do they not care? And then when they make mistakes that I would say would be obvious not to make, if I haven't previewed clean and green, like Covey did, if I haven't shown them in that way, it comes back to me. And I think this is where the best leaders I know tend to stay relatively calm.
Yes.
Because when they realize that like they are showing a good pre-success view and the pages are getting lined up and then it doesn't execute, it's more about like, oh, that's where they make easier cuts in their company. Cause it's like, they're not even upset about it. It's like, hey, listen, you're not going to be happy here because you're not, even when you get the vision, you don't, and we trained you, you're still not executing, then it's time to let you go. But there's none of this like running around complaining to their spouses. And again, I do sometimes complain to my spouse. I sometimes still have issues, but I've learned, I think, as I'm learning from you right now, Eric, it's more about me. It's way more about my ability to do pre-success than anything else.
Well, man, that is so, I just love the way you articulated and made it so clear. And that's where it starts with all of us as leaders. And when I say leaders, I'm not even talking about our titles. I'm just talking about in our ability to influence others and those around.
I love that. Everyone's a leader.
Everyone's a leader. So this issue around clarity works sideways, up, down. It doesn't matter. It's just those who I got to communicate. And the clarity that I want to give the folks I need to influence is also clarity I need for myself. So I'm not just talking to those right now about how you can be more clear or get greater clarity with the people you're leading, but it's also how you can get greater clarity for yourself. Some of
Yeah.
us right now are working really hard on things that we're not really clear about. And so it's important to get that kind of information. You may find out sometimes somebody get a general statement of, our if whether it's a net promoter score or what we're getting feedback from our customers or what they're not happy with or what when that stuff is given to you in a very general way,
Yeah.
that's not real effective. And this is why we can remain calm. This is the other thing that I enjoyed about having great coaches in the NFL, the ones that I had. It's when they chose to be calm and when they got much more heated. I was fascinated by that, Will.
I am too, by the way.
It really is. So there be games where we're not playing well, or we may be behind, or we're not, and I'd be just blown away at how calm a couple of our coaches would be, how calm Holmgren would be, how calm Andy Reid would be, who's in Kansas City now, like how calm they would be. Pete Carroll, how calm he would be. And then you turn around and the team's up by 20. And these coaches are irate and they're yelling and they're upset. And you would think, well, when the scoreboard's working in your favor, why are you being much more intense now? Why are you being so deliberate now? Because human nature, it's just built in. We usually get pretty complacent. The easier it is to be good, the more difficult it is to be great. So we allow winning on the scoreboard to cause us to slow down, paying attention to details. It's when we're down or we're losing or things are going well, now we get serious about it. No, because what takes care of the scoreboard's a lagging indicator. It's not a leading indicator. So a scoreboard just represents what our habits are. So can we get the right habits? Can we get the right things in place and then do it in a calm enough manner so we can clearly see it? Then use our energy and passion and enthusiasm in the right place, not in reacting to what's going on, but calm in responding to what's going on. So then we can get on the same page and make a difference.
Eric, this is mind-blowing because one of the concepts I've always tried to balance is this place as a leader between challenge and support. And energy is a way of communicating that, right? Like if we over-challenge, we overwhelm. If we over-support, we enable in a negative way. So it's interesting because when you talk about like being calm, Andy Reid, like I've always been blown away how he's always on the sidelines, just stoic, super chill all the time. It's interesting that you notice that when they're in that energy of like, we're winning. And then people start making, I'm sure it's not every time that you guys were winning. I'm sure it was when you were winning and people got comfortable that they started to get heated and they started to increase that challenge. How do you feel that translates into a private practice, for example? Like when does the owner, because I will say this, I think the biggest error we make is that we tend to over enable. Like we never get hard enough in the way that like is necessary. I think every industry is different. Healthcare providers are usually like, hey guys, honestly, maybe we should show up on time. And, so how do you communicate? How do you encourage your clients and people, especially in those spaces, to like know how to balance that energy and that intensity?
Yeah. And I'm glad you say, because I think it really matters in terms of, even when we use words like passion and intensity, it's very important that every leader be authentic. So we're not talking about putting on an air or there's certain aura trying to be, oh, here we go. No, you stay in alignment with who you are. But what helps facilitate this is consistency. I'm a big believer that consistency trumps intensity every time. So the feedback loop, the opportunities of alignment is not a one-time event. It's continuous. And so if it's a one-time event, then you got to put a whole lot of intensity in it, but it doesn't last, right? And so if you do this consistently, that's why I was talking about like, daily huddles or, weekly reviews. Hey, this is what we had a great week last week or a tough week last week. Let's learn what were some of our learnings from it. Just somehow or another you reviewed it. Before you go into the next one, hey, we get on the same page. Many of the things I'm talking about are so simple, it's crazy, right? But these are the kind of things that allow us to stay aligned without these giant, way I like to describe it is these giant variances where there's such a huge going. We go this way and then we come back down, and we go way back up. And it's almost like we're reacting instead of responding. And so one of the things that is imperative, especially in the environment you guys are, feedback is really important. But we can use facts. We don't have to water them down. Like, okay, here's where it's showing we need to improve. This is the evidence. This is right. And here's what we believe are the causes of it. We do need to do more of the causes that lead to the outcome we're going after. What happens sometimes when a leader's kind of nervous, like, you know what, I don't want to be too hard on them. Well, the bigger question I have to ask is, what's the consequences of that?
Yeah.
So sometimes in my effort to protect the feeling of one, it's having a negative impact on so many others. It hurts the team. I look at that, and we talked about this even before I had even before I had a chance to speak to many of your peers and the other entrepreneurs who are obviously they love the practice, they love the service that they do, but I would say that they love what the service they're providing probably more than just owning a business, if that makes any sense, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I love the service even more so. But the reality is, if we don't do accountability properly, accountability is not a negative word. Accountability just gives us a chance to identify where do we need to get a little bit better and make it clear. When we can do that with our people very directly, without a whole lot of it allows them to course correct faster. So I ask leaders this often. Do you people clearly know where their opportunity to improve is? Or are they kind of guessing? Or if they have a one-on-one with you, you're like, hey, here's an area I need you to improve, or here's an area that you've been working on. And then after you kind of let them know they need to improve, you say stuff like this, like, okay, I need you, but I know you're working hard on it. So, it's getting a little bit better. But, what
Totally.
And so all of a sudden, what you just did was you have somebody walking away from you confused. Like, am I doing a good job or am I not? And I just tell leaders, you've earned the right. Believe me, if you're already uncomfortable sometimes having a direct conversation, you're probably not going to be too direct anyways, right? So it's better that you remain uncomfortable to a point where that helps them get better. And you can tell them, I believe in you. All that stuff can still be there, but I need this to get better. This is the area I need you to improve. And then don't end at that. We're going to revisit this to see how improvement has happened, because the team needs you to do better. The practice needs you to do better. Your customers, your clients, your patients need you to be better. This is why I tell leaders all the time, it got to be bigger than just my discomfort for having difficult conversations. I tell leaders all the time, that's selfish. That's you thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about them. One person said, well, I care about my people, so I don't want to hurt their feelings. No, you just don't want to bring you the reasons their feelings are hurt. So it's still about you. No, it's that their feelings may be hurt temporarily, but it's going to be hurt even more when they find out later on that they haven't been meeting the standard and you never told them. Do you know how painful that is? To find out later on that you don't believe I've been doing a good job, but because of your discomfort, you're unwilling to tell me? I tell leaders all the time, this isn't about fairness. At the end of the day, you have you have the right to do whatever you want as a leader. You have the right to tell them or not. But in your leadership, and especially servant leadership, your rights go down and your responsibilities go up. You are responsible with telling your people the truth, even if it's uncomfortable for you. That's kind of like the price of leadership.
Amen. And it's so funny that it's disguised as kindness when there's nothing more kind. In a very small way, when I've had something hanging out of my nose, it's my closest friends like, dude, do this. You know what I mean? It's not the person who let me sit through the dinner. And like, dude, I will tell you, Eric, this is such a great way of discussing this, because so many leaders, they have this idea of what kindness looks like. And I think what your frame is perfect. The frame of like, hey, maybe, and I used to say this in my own way, like as I got more courageous.
Yeah.
To finally be like, it takes courage. I think the problem is that like number one, I don't think most of us have it modeled well. Like I think we get raised in homes where it's either my way or the highway or super enabled. And so we don't know how we think of confrontation or accountability, better stated, as this like intense negative thing. Like, but to your point, if you're consistent with it, you don't have to be as intense because you're doing it all the time. Like, hey, John, I saw this. This is what we need to see. And if they're struggling, it's like, hey, John, for the sake of the company, for the sake of your team, for the sake of your clients, and for the sake of you, this impacts other people when you don't run fast as hard as you can in every play. Here's the ripple effects of this. I believe in you. You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
It's very different than, but I know you're working hard.
Will, you just said it, because what we want to challenge our people with, which is what they want at their core. You see greater potential in me than maybe I'm showing. Coach me to it. Challenge me to it. And then after you say, I know you can do it, and then let me know what you need.
Yeah, what do you need?
What do you need from me? Like, so they know they're not alone, but I am holding to you to a standard that I know you can do. And if I got you in a position or in something that I know you can't do, but I need you to do, that's a different conversation. Now, now that's a leadership conversation. That's a move that you've been holding out on. You need to have some courage to make that change, right? Because that's unfair as well as a leader. Keep someone in a position that they're incapable of doing and the negative impact that it has on everybody else. But what you just got through describing, that is it. I believe enough in you. Now, here's the one thing that is I hope is helpful for your rock stars, and many of them are doing this already. We do, but it's just sometimes it's a reminder of, because many times it's not things that we need to learn that's brand new. We just got to be reminded. And you guys are so busy. You're so busy that what you're battling against is all the things that can distract you from doing these things. Right? So it's not an issue that I don't know these things. It's there's enough work and there's enough things that can grab my attention that this kind of stuff I don't get to. So I should have had this conversation with you 2 weeks ago. It's now 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. Now the circumstance that would have had a coaching moment, I missed. And so now when I bring it up, do you see what I'm saying? This is what
absolutely.
This is what makes it challenging. But there's a challenge that I was fortunate enough to have a mentor of mine who would who trained me in this, and he would say it over and over. But I believe it's so true for leaders. Our people want to know, at a minimum, these two things from us, and it makes all the difference. They want to know these two things. They want to know, what do we want from them, and they also want to know what we want for them. Now, they may never say the second one. They may never say it out loud. But every leader, I want to know that my leader, whoever, there's something that they want for me. And when I can trust that what they want for me is even greater than they want from me, they get permission to even ask more from me, because I'm not questioning their motive. What happens sometimes in some environments is we ask a lot. You have somebody says, I ask a lot from my folks, and they just feel like all I am is a taskmaster. Well, that's because they're not aware of what you want for them. They know what you want from them, but they're not aware of what you want for them. And so that's what you need to make sure they have. But in some environments, and might be some cases with some of your rock stars, it's almost the opposite. Okay. This is what I want for you. I want you to be happy. I want you to feel good. I want you to feel connected. We use words like culture as if culture is dictated by how happy everybody is. Let me make it perfectly clear to everyone listening. Culture is not dictated by what everybody wants. Culture is dictated by what's tolerated. And I'm telling you, if you tolerate a low standard or people not needing to come through, the negative effect that it has on everybody, because everybody knows the truth.
And A players are the ones who want to know, like they're so capable. A players are super who's, according to Dr. Benjamin Hardy. These people, they are so committed to wanting a bigger impact for the world. They are craving for you to say, here's what I want from you.
Yep.
I think in healthcare, it is so much what you just said. Eric, you hit it right on the head. And I think I've heard of win-win agreements and all that, but I've never heard it articulated that clearly for me, where it's like, if someone sat down with me and said, hey, Will, this is what I want from you, and this is what I want for you. And in my mind, that's the clearest way for me to go, yeah, this is working or not. That's for alignment. It's not even emotional. It's like, yeah, that works or no, it doesn't. And if it does work and the company is exchanging in abundance and I feel like I'm getting a better deal out of it, if I'm an A player, man, I'm going to show up that next day. Like I'm going to give you as much and I'm going to show you how much more I can give. And for an owner, what a great tool to feel like, yeah, they're seeing this transactionally or they're seeing this transformationally.
There we go.
And I just love how you're saying that, because for me, I'm going to incorporate that in my lingo in every review.
Yes.
Here's what I want from you. Here's what I want more from you. Yeah. Here's what I want less from you.
That's it.
And then here's what I want for you. You know, for you. And what am I missing?
Will, the reason why it's so cool too, it's helpful, but it frames it for us as leaders. Now what I'm asking from them, there's so many connections between what I'm asking from you to what I want for you and what they've also said. Because when I tell them what I want for them, you know what I'm also hearing from them? I get to ask, tell me more of what you want for yourself. Tell me what it is that look at what it gets to facilitate. Look at the conversation. I'm not following this checklist. I'm like, man, this is what I want for you, but you tell me what you want for yourself. And I'm hearing it, I'm listening to it. Then all of a sudden, when I'm asking more from you and when I'm saying I want from you, I know that's connected to something that's driving you. You've told me this is what you want for yourself. I want that for you. But the organization needs this from you, and this is how it leads to what we just got to describe. There's a symbiotic relationship between these two things. And as a leader, it's so helpful when you have a chance to know your folks like that. You have inside information. So I'm not just giving over tasks. I'm not just, for some, it's going to be great. There's a rock star right now that just based on what we are talking about right now, Will, they have some A players on their team who've been looking for development opportunities, looking for greater room to display what they can do than they've been. And when people aren't clear of what their leader wants for them, and the leader's not clear about what the people want for themselves, many times they don't know how to assign or give out tasks or give out greater responsibilities. Some of you right now out there, it's time for you to let some things go. The only way some of your A players actually grow, or some of your players become A players that you may not even know, is when they're given levels of responsibility, when they're given an opportunity to really step up. You'll be amazed. Some people you think aren't bought in, they just have nothing to do. Like they're
not challenged.
They're not challenged, man. That they just need to know. Like, there's more I can do. I'm going to let you do it. Now, you're going to hold them accountable. There's a standard. But listen, look at the difference of conversations you guys are going to have. Like, you're going to have higher level conversations just because they're seeing it so different.
And they're transforming the team's lives. When I sold my practice, I will tell you, Eric, the biggest surprise of my life was that my legacy wasn't the money. It definitely wasn't the patient care. It was the team that came together to transform that. It's when I talk to other business owners who have sold their practices in and out of healthcare, it's like a bunch of old men talking about their kids. It's like, you know what my chief of operations is doing now? She started her own company. And it's this discussion that you are so simply breaking down is helping me also realize that when we talk with our people in this way, I love the thing you said about, you know, what is it you want for yourself? Because what I'm willing to bet is that most people don't know. They don't, and so you get to serve as a coach and go, well, listen, here's some opportunities that I can see that would help the company. Do any of those resonate? Or like big picture, do you want to get on sabbatical? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to own a cabin in the woods? When a business leader or any leader with their kids, even by the way, has that level of discussion and helps open what's possible to them, they will stay in your company forever because you have given them a gift that no other leader even knows that they're capable of giving, right?
Well, I know we're both, like, if we were together, we'd be high-fiving and jumping up and down.
Totally.
But the reason why this moves my heart so much is, and I'm really speaking to all the rock stars out there who are listening, because many of them, this is their heart. It's just how to execute it. Like if you really pulled away their desire, I had a mentor who say this to me often. He says, Eric, there's only a couple things greater than wearing a coat that feels like success, right? You can look at, you feel like you're dressed in success. And when he said a coat, he's talking about a covering, not in the actual clothes. He said, when you can look back and say you've been successful, he goes, but that pales in comparison to when you can look out to those you've been able to impact and see them just cloaked in success. And because you saw it in them, and now they're living it. Man, there's no great. It's the reason why, for those who are, you may have some rock stars who at an age where many of them are younger, but if maybe at an age of no greater joy than a grandparent just watching their grandkids play, right? There's just nothing, there's nothing that can match that. And what I'm saying now is being a leader who I want my people to know what I want for you is even greater than I want from you, but I want a lot from you. Okay, but part of that process is helping them determine what they want for themselves, because the majority of people don't get what they want for themselves because they've never decided on what that is. They've never really been challenged to ask for it, to think of it. Now, this is what's important. I hope all the leaders are hearing me here. What we're not creating in our practices is a parental type relationship with the people we lead. Okay, this is not a paternal type dynamic. This isn't, I'm not figuring, I determine what I want for you. I determine no, when I say what I want for you includes you determining what you want for yourselves, and we align that. And because personal responsibility itself it's a fundamental, 100% responsibility. It's a fundamental pillar. That's the foundation of all the success you guys been able to have, and everybody who I'm talking about. And the word responsibility means, like when I talk about potential being released, it's only released when responsibility is given. The word responsibility means the ability to properly respond, not react, but respond. And people have it within them. If you don't give me room to respond to challenges, if you don't give me room, if you don't ask more of me that requires more, I never discover what was actually in me. So I have a leader that not only wants something for me, I have a leader that not only helps me determine what I want for myself, but I also have a leader who asks even greater things of me. And as a result, I have no other choice but to grow. And what matters the most to us? Yeah, paycheck and all that stuff, money goes, but growth, and this is the leader who helped me grow, I'm telling you, man, don't get better.
Tony Robbins says that. He talks about this idea that happiness is a derivative of gratitude, growth, and giving. And when we grow our people, they can give more to the world.
That's it.
And he'll always identify us, even though we are just a product of the greats before us. They will always identify us, and we get a very sacred role in their hearts as the man or woman who stood in confidently and courageously, who was willing to tell them, you could be better. You can be more. And here's why you're so important. I love this conversation. Eric, I will say this has done more for me than anyone else. What you have said has been more transformative for me as a leader than anything else. I can't thank you enough for being a part of this show. And I mean this humbly. If you ever want me to be a part of anything that you're ever doing, I am in. Like you need me on. I mean, I'm going on air to say this because my audience knows I'm authentic on this stuff. Like, dude, if you need, I have never said this before, but if I can be a part of your journey in any way, please let me know. You are just. Anyway, let's do this. Let's get into rapid fire. Let's do rapid fire. Let's close this thing with rapid fire. Okay, so first and foremost, what is one thing that you see as the world of AI is taking over?
Yes.
What is one tool that you see that you can really empower leaders that you have seen or you're excited about?
Okay, so in the world of AI, I will be specific. I'm dealing a lot with that right now. Like many of my trips that I was telling you that I've been taking globally, from Trend AI to that's a company, right? To Solonis, who everything they do is around this area, to IBM and their executives. And so I've been talking. My take to every leader who's listening, personally, individually, find ways to allow AI to be a thought partner with you. So
Thought partner.
not just to write emails for you, even though that's great. Not just to, you can come up with new systems, but to really think with you. There are so many times where like it can't substitute the conversation you and I are having right now, Will. But there are times I'm alone and I'm thinking like, golly, this is a question. I wonder how. And then I just jump on whether it's Claude or Chat GPT or one of the other ones, and I just sit there and I go, think with me. This is how to. And then it asks a clarifying question, and I ask it. It's not what it tells me to do. Never. It just brings up other questions and thoughts and everything that allows me to get all these thoughts together. I know we got some rock stars out there right now. If we can unpack everything that's in our brains, it almost cause people to go crazy, right?
Absolutely.
So it's nice to have something that's not judging me or describing. It's just thinking with me. And that is one way that I always encourage people to use, to begin using AI. The reality is, and I'm not just, we got to all work and do it, but almost everything works like this. Almost all change in technology kind of go through 4 stages. And I'll say it real quick, Willis. It's the first stage, which is, I don't have no need for it. And the second stage is I can see how others use it. The third stage is, I can see how I can use it occasionally. And we're not long before, how did we ever get along without it? And I just tell people, all that's happening, it's just happening to us faster. So that range I just got through describing is just happening faster than it's ever happened before. And this is why I tell people to play around with it with yourself. Like, play around with it individually. The thing that the AI has helped me the most with recently is I was traveling so much, Will, and finally I got to a point where I was like, look, I am getting on my wife's last nerve. right?
Because you're gone.
I'm gone. Totally. I'm not knowing how. I come back in the atmosphere the wrong way, right? Like, I'm not coming back. And so it came up with some great. I said, man, how do I? This is the schedule I have. I can't. Man, give me some ideas of what I can do. And it started asking me questions. Go back. Like, me and my wife were having dinners.
Wow.
Well, on FaceTime. She had put up the screen here, I put up the screen here, we eating together. It's like a one-on-one date. Like,
but you're in Spain. You're in Germany.
Yeah, I'm in Germany, and she's at home, and we're doing right, and we're just, what do you drink? But those ideas came from, I talked about it, came from that. So anyhow, I didn't mean to go on a diet.
No, this was such a great answer, because ultimately at the end of the day, you gave me such a brilliant. Anyway, you just fed something to me that I'm going to hold on to privately for now, because I think what you just said is the thought partner concept is massive.
Yeah.
What is a book that you would recommend that you've recently read and enjoyed? What's a book that you would recommend to people if they're trying to increase their capabilities as leaders?
Okay. It's not one that I've recently read. It's one that I keep going back to over and over and over again. Now, there's others books similar to it, but it's by Richard Koch, who's and it's not as famous. We're not talking about Simon Sinek. We're not talking about Richard Koch. But it's called 80-20 thinking.
What's it called again?
80-20 thinking.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and so we all follow the 80-20 rule. We're all that. But the reason I'm such a fan of it is following somebody who completely committed to living by the 80-20 rule, which is 20%. Input has a disproportional impact on 80% of the outputs. And knowing what that 20% is and going through the process is a game changer. And I live for that, because I want to know in all areas, what's the 20% that I do that's responsible for 80% of my wife's happiness? Well, once I know what that is, why am I spending time on other stuff?
Yeah, man.
When I know that's the real difference. I can buy all the gifts in the world for my wife, but I'm disappointed when I'm expecting her to be excited about the cost of it. No, there's an expensive gift I got for my wife right now, but I wrote a note on it on the receipt. I don't know where the gift is, but I know where the receipt is, right? So she's still, it's that kind of stuff. I used it in a practical example. It's knowing that. It's knowing that, and I try to do that with the people I lead. I want to know them well enough to know what's the few things that matter most to them. there's a lot of things that matter, but not everything is imperative. And because we don't have a lot of time, Will, I don't have a lot of time to spend on things that don't produce a return. So in relationships, I understand in business and order, what's the 20%, but in relationships, how do I use that kind of thinking to have even greater impact on those who I have relationships with?
Powerful. Eric, next question. Who is someone in your family, like in your ancestry?
Yeah.
It can be a parent, it can be a grandparent. When you think about your ancestry, who is someone in that line that has had a significant impact on you and why?
Ooh, man, that's a great one. I've had several, but I would actually say, no get around it. I would say my father, and my biologic father, and my stepfather. But I would talk about my stepfather who raised me, and not everything was peaches and cream, and not everything important, but his way of thinking had such a tremendous impact on me, and his ability to differentiate between not just what mattered, what didn't. It's more nuanced than that. I would say his impact, his ability to differentiate between what was important and what was imperative. That's a much more nuanced dynamic. And so because of his role, some people may be listening, even when I keynote, I tell people all the time, you may be able to tell, but my father was an old retired Baptist preacher. Based on my energy level, you probably be able to tell a little bit. Right?
I love it. Totally.
It was just, he lived by certain principles, not only just spiritual, but in practicality. He lived by certain principles, and he just wouldn't move off of them. So he was the kind who was, like he would tell me years ago, he's his son, the key is, from a financial standpoint, he will always say, son, you plant good seeds, you grow trees, you live off the fruit. And anytime I would go to him and ask for something, or one time I went to him and asked for money, and he would say stuff like this. He goes, son, here's the problem, son. The reason you think you have a money problem. I was like, I do. He says, no, you got a wisdom problem, son. And if I give you money, you're going to be back because you ain't solved the wisdom problem. So I want to see if you're about the wisdom. If you get the wisdom, the money will fall. I mean, it's stuff like that. And he would not back off of it, Will. Like, he never worried. I was like, but if I don't get this done, Dad, if I don't get this done by Monday, what's going to happen? He'd look at me and says, it'll be Tuesday. But I'll tell you that, and now my father was significantly older, right? Like he was 45 years older than me, right? So I mean, wow. No, even more than that. But 45 years, yeah, he was an old dude, old guy. But the reason why this stuff like moved me so much, Will, is because those kind of little things, he would allow me to experience the weight, the consequences of my choices, decisions, never to the point where, it was life-threatening. But his concept of what can take me out or not was just so different. Like, my mother be like worried, oh, don't let that happen. He was like, no, that's exactly what needs to happen. Like, I was allowed to err to the point where I felt the weight of decisions, and I was never just bailed out. He never let it go too far, but he let me go far enough that I knew, that I was going to feel the weight of the responsibility of choice. Like, he was going to let me know that choices I owned. And I'm so grateful to him for that. Like, there was no other way. I tell leaders a funny running joke. I said, here's the difference. Like, if I forgot my lunch at school, I'm not calling my dad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Right. He was like, you'll be all right. But it's funny because if I call my mom, oh, how could you do it? Don't forget again. And here she comes driving up, bringing it to me again. Yeah,
she's frustrated and put out. Yeah,
and she still brought it to me. My mom's screaming, yelling at me. I need you to make your bed. I need you to start cleaning your room while making my bed. I'm sorry, that message. My father never. It never happened that way, brother. And so I learned early on. Hey, brother, either I got to take responsibility of that or I'm going to have to figure it out because he ain't coming to save me. Because he's like, he won't starve. He'll be all right. But I promise you this much, he'll never forget his lunch again.
Yeah. And the wisdom, there's an Andy Reid esqueness around him. Yeah. Like
Right
he's
on.
chill and letting the consequences follow, but he'll bring it to you too. Like he's like
Oh,
the
yeah.
wisdom thing,
Yeah.
the education. You have a wisdom problem. That's
That's it.
gold.
That's it, man. That was my
Okay.
pop.
Last question, and one of my big passions is family history, Eric. Every time I do a podcast, I'm always mindful of the fact that like you and I are serving the rock stars now.
Yeah.
The bigger audience that I care about is your descendants.
Oh, I
So it's a
love
family history thing. This is a family history thing with your daughters, future grandkids.
Yes.
They're not going to experience you younger than this right now.
That's right.
What would you want them? What would you want to tell them directly about what we talked about today and what you feel about this concept of developing people?
Oh, that is everything. That the only thing that lives on. This is why when I talk about potential, but the concept I use is an acorn to an oak tree to a forest of oak trees. Because the reality is, there's going to be forest of oak trees that will be a result of the principles we're talking about right now. But I'm never going to see it, right? Like I won't be, but my children's children will be the benefit of it. So I was told another thing my father told me once. He says, son, too late comes far too soon. And he goes, so what you sow, what you see, if you can think far enough. So the business, the principles I talk about, my goal of what I pour into my daughters, I see through them, not just to them. So when I look at my girls, and I know that one day when they're married and they have their husbands and they have their kids and what are the principles in the things that are timeless that I'm pouring into them? So that DNA flows. It's the reason why of all the things I've kept of my grandfather and notes I get from ancestry, man, it's their journals I want. It's the book. It's what they wrote in. It's the money ago, the properties, even though it's great, but the information, the wisdom, that's timeless. That's priceless. So that's why I journal everything. That's why I write all the books behind me. I've read every one. But I don't give my books away because I write in the tabs. I write all through it. So any book you read, it's like because I take everything I read as a question and, okay, how do I apply this? How do I use this? Including all my mistakes. So I tell my daughters, I tell those who I mentor and disciple, because I still work with not only do I do a lot of executive coaching, but I work with a lot of current athletes because that's a tough transition going from a professional athlete to real life. Like it's a real tough transition, and it's not always done very well. Well, the majority of the time it's not, right? And so the amount of time I spend with them, but using mistakes as their opportunity to grow versus using successes, right? We learn more. We have more in common with the mistakes we make than we do our successes, right? So
Totally.
But man, I love that question, Will. God, man, that is such a great question, Will. Appreciate that, bro. That really helps me.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too, Eric, where I'm so excited because you are so uniquely special, and I that go-giver nature of yours is one that I just hope your daughters will. I know your daughters and their descendants and the descendants you won't ever meet are going to see this and just recognize that they are connected. And yeah, man, I love that you're so transparent with your mistakes. When you got cut from the NFL, all I kept thinking about was getting last picked for every sport I ever played. In a weird way, I felt connected to you in that moment.
Oh yeah, bro. I'm telling you.
Okay, Eric, how do people get a hold of you, man? People are going to want to know more about you and what you do. How do they get a hold of you?
There's a few different ways. On LinkedIn, it's just at Eric Boles. You know, I look just like my photo on it, so you know it's me. Okay, right. So on LinkedIn is that. On Instagram is at Eric Boles _. I think underscore is at the end of my last name. So at Eric Boles _ and you will see all kinds of short videos, short clips on kind of the subjects and things we're talking about right now. My goal is just to have as much impact on people's lives as possible. I think on Facebook it's at Eric Boles. Supposedly I'm on TikTok. I have no clue because I don't manage it. But I love when people engage back and forth, because my ultimate goal is, like I say, is always just to coach, train, and inspire leaders all over the world and unleashing their potential and the best that is within them. And that's what it's all about. And so thank you all. Thank you, rock stars. Thank you, Will. This has been such a wonderful honor today. This has been awesome.
Mine as well, and just so grateful. And guys, for my friends of you out there who are you know who you are, who have more than 20 providers, please go to thegamechangersinc.com to learn about how Eric can serve your company. He's anyway, I give my highest recommendation to this man who was the keynote speaker of PPS and is someone who has inspired me personally in a way that has not happened elsewhere. So Rockstars, thank you so much for tuning in today's episode. As always, this is Will Humphreys reminding you to lead with love and never give up. Until next time.